Hey everyone! Tonight we're stepping barefoot onto a stone court where the grass is cut too short to hide your fear, and the walls are too high to scale if you decide to run. The sun is setting low over the jungle canopy, and a crowd gathers, not just to watch, but to witness. You're standing in the center of a Mayan ball court, where the ball is heavy, the rules are unclear, and your survival might depend on the way your hips move. No, seriously, that's not a joke. The game you're about to play isn't just a game. It's a ritual. It's war. It's politics. And depending on who you ask, it might just end in human sacrifice. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And tell me where you're watching from, and what time it is in your part of the world. Now, turn down the lights, turn on the fan to some soothing music, and let's get going tonight. You step forward. The ground under your feet isn't grass, it's ancient plaster, smoothed by centuries of footfall and soaked in stories. The smell is earthy, a little metallic, and it clings to your nostrils like old blood. Overhead, the hoop juts out of the wall like an unforgiving god. It's made of stone high enough to break your hope, but just low enough to be technically possible maybe. There's no net. You're not here to win tickets or a trophy. You're here to echo the gods, to reenact the birth and death of the sun. The ball is presented to you, a dense, solid rubber orb, about the size of a coconut, but several times heavier. You hold it briefly and feel the weight of history, of fate, of someone else's idea of fun. And then it's taken from your hands, because you're not allowed to use them. Not your hands, not your feet. Just your hips, your thighs, your chest, whatever you can swing without offending the spirits. Your uniform is surprisingly ornate, quilted padding around your waist, and knees, maybe a feathered headdress if you're a crowd favorite. Nothing protects your face though, and that's a problem, because when the ball bounces, it doesn't bounce like a tennis ball. It comes at you like a flying brick wrapped in vengeance. You try to remember what the priest said during the pregame. Purification ritual, something about honoring the hero twins, the lords of Xibalba, and your own ancestors. But it's hard to focus on metaphysics when you've just taken a rubber ball to the ribs hard enough to hear your soul blink. Around you, the crowd murmurs in Yucatec, eyes gleaming with something between excitement and dread. They're not just watching, they're participating. Their shouts help summon the gods. Their wagers carry political weight. The nobles in the stands aren't here for halftime entertainment. They're deciding your family's status, your village's fate, and maybe whether your heart ends up on an altar. Historians still debate whether the losing team, or sometimes the winning team, was sacrificed. Some argue that dying in the ball court was an honor, the ultimate ticket to paradise. Others suggest it was a brutal way to silence rivals, wrap up debts, or just keep the population from getting too bold. Either way, you keep moving, because you have to. Because to stop means to fall. And to fall might mean your head gets separated from your body with a ceremonial obsidian blade. You glance at the hoop, do the impossible mental math, and launch your body sideways. You make contact barely, and the ball soars up ... and misses. A collective exhale hisses through the crowd. It's fine. You've still got time. Maybe ... and now, here comes the strangest part. You're starting to feel ... exhilarated. There's something about playing for your life that sharpens the senses. The colors are brighter. The sky feels closer and even. The pain in your ribs becomes part of the rhythm. You're not just surviving. You're dancing on the edge of myth. You are no longer a tourist. You are a player. And somewhere, deep in the jungle beyond the court, an ancient god smiles, not because you're winning, but because you're giving it everything you've got. You quickly learn that Ballgame, Is it dangerously misleading? Word. This isn't recess, and it's definitely not something you play for fun. You're moving in slow circles, stalking the ball like a jungle cat with a head injury, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. The problem is, you're not a jungle cat. You're a person, very aware of your squishy insides, and you're unpadded. Everything? The ball slams into the side of your hip, and it feels like someone hurled a rock wrapped in solid regret. Still, it flies bouncing off the wall, barely missing your opponent's chest, and landing in the dust with a heavy thump that sends up a puff of powdered limestone. The audience exhales again. You're alive, for now. That's the only real rule here. Don't die. The second rule? Bounce, like your life depends on it, because it does. You're not allowed to touch the ball with your hands or feet. Just your hips, your thighs, your shoulders, if you're lucky and flexible. It sounds limiting until you try it and realize it's basically a violent yoga session disguised as sport. There's an elegance to it, a kind of brutal ballet where pain is part of the choreography. You twist, you throw yourself sideways, and every successful hit feels like an act of rebellion against physics. And when the ball ricochets toward the hoop embedded 20 feet up on the stone wall, you don't even aim. You just hope. That hoop, it's not like a basketball rim. It's smaller, made of carved stone, with no backboard and no second chances. And if, by some miracle, the ball passes through it, the game might end immediately, or it might continue because, surprise, the rules change depending on the region, the century, and the mood of the ruling class. Historians still debate how standardized the rules were, or if rules is even the right word. Some courts had vertical hoops, others had horizontal goals, and some had no goals at all, just the pure, violent poetry of keeping the ball in motion without dying. One classic ballgame story, passed down like sweaty gossip across generations, tells of a player in the city of Copan who supposedly managed to score through the hoop and was immediately rewarded with not gold or glory, but the honor of ritual, decapitation. His head was then allegedly turned into a sacred ball for the next match. Is it true? Probably not. But the fact that it could be true tells you everything about how seriously the Maya took this game. You try not to think about that as you dive again, landing hard on your side and feeling something in your ribs say no. Thank you. Your teammates equally bruised and dazed grunt in solidarity. You formed a silent brotherhood based on shared trauma and questionable life choices. Across from you, your opponents are no less battered, one of them limping slightly, the other with blood on his knee, and a face like someone who just learned the gods don't give participation trophies. But the game doesn't stop for pain. The ball keeps bouncing, and you keep chasing it like cosmic janitors, cleaning up after the mess of existence. You start to wonder, was this always the point? Maybe the game wasn't about winning, but enduring. Not about scoring, but surviving long enough to be noticed by the gods. It's exhausting. Your mouth is dry, your muscles are fried, and your pride is somewhere back in the first 5 minutes. And still, you bounce. You twist your hips in ways that would confuse your chiropractor. You throw your whole body at the ball, like your ancestors are watching, because they probably are. And every time you miss, you swear the stone hoop is laughing at you. You think of the priests watching, draped in jaguar skins, muttering prayers and maybe placing bets. You think of the king, high above in a carved platform, sipping cacao and wondering if you're worth keeping alive. And then the ball comes, flying again, and all those thoughts disappear in a blur of survival instinct. Your hip connects, the ball spins upward, and miracle of miracles, it skims the edge of the hoop. The crowd gasps, the gods stay silent, and you keep moving because you're still in the game, still breathing. And that, tonight, is as close to winning as you're going to get. You're kneeling on the edge of the court now, panting like a wild animal, trying not to throw up cacao and cornmeal on the sacred floor. The stone beneath your knees is sun-warmed and slightly sticky with someone else's sweat or maybe something more ceremonial. A priest walks past you in silence, swinging a bowl of burning copal resin that smells like every holy place and dental waiting room you've ever imagined. It curls into your nostrils, sharp and sweet, and suddenly you're not just tired, you're transformed. Or at least, you're supposed to be. Because this isn't just a warm-up break. It's the purification ritual, and it's not optional. No one's pouring Gatorade over your head out here. Instead, your body is an offering. The team is herded into a small stone chamber off the court, where the temperature rises faster than your anxiety. It's a sweat lodge temescal, filled with hot rocks and steam thick enough to slap. The air is so dense, it feels chewable. You sit in a circle, shoulder to shoulder with men who smell like fear and crushed basil. The priest chants softly, flicking water over the stones and waving bundles of herbs that sting your eyes. It's like a teen sauna run by someone who thinks pain is a sacrament. And maybe it is. The idea is to cleanse your soul, your sins, and probably the parasites in your intestines. The gods don't like dirty players. You remember what they told you before the game, that pain opens the spirit, that blood is memory, that your body is a temporary thing, and the real battle is for your soul. You don't know if you believe any of it. But when the priest takes a sharp obsidian blade and pricks your earlobe until a single drop of blood runs down your neck, you don't flinch, because everyone's watching. And because this isn't just theater, it's theology. Historians still debate how widespread bloodletting was in the pre-game rituals. Some say it was reserved for the elite. Others claim it was as common as stretching before a job. But here, now, you feel the ancient weight of it. The blood isn't just yours, it belongs to your lineage, your town, your future. It's proof that you showed up. And maybe, just maybe, it earns you a bit of favor from the gods who decide which way the ball bounces. Back on the court, you can feel the shift. The game has slowed slightly, as if the players, having faced the flame and the blade, are now moving with sacred purpose. Your opponents seem less like enemies and more like fellow pilgrims. Everyone's battered, everyone's bleeding, but the court is still alive with tension, the way a jungle gets quiet before a storm. And then the ball comes flying again, and the spell breaks. You hurl your body forward, your hip hitting the ball just right this time. It arcs toward the wall and rebounds hard. The sound it makes is different now, deeper, like a drumbeat from underground. A reminder that you're not just playing a game. You're participating in a story, a myth, a memory. You're reenacting the tale of the hero twins, the two brothers, from the Popol Vuh, who challenged the lords of the underworld to a ball game, because that's apparently what gods do when they're bored and full of ego. The twins were clever, brave, and extremely bad at quitting. They outsmarted death, used their wits to survive, and eventually became the sun and the moon. You, on the other hand, are still very much mortal, but for a moment, just to flash you. Imagine the court as they did. The hoop becomes a portal. The ball is the sun, bouncing between realms. And your aching, sweating body, that's the only thing keeping the universe in motion. The priest raises a conch shell and blows a note that vibrates your bones. It's halftime. You collapse in the shade of the stone wall, pressing your back to its coolness. Someone hands you a gourd of atoll, thick and warm, and you drink without question. It tastes like corn and smoke and maybe hope. There's a break now, a pause, before the next round of bruises. You think about the blood on your earlobe, the sweat in your eyes, and the myth unfolding all around you. And then you wipe your mouth, stand up, and get ready to bounce again. Your shadow stretches long across the ball court, twisted and flickering like it's trying to escape. The sky has turned that late jungle gold, where every leaf glows with secrets, and the air hangs heavy, thick as soup made of silence and sweat. You glance up, and for a split second, you swear the stone hoop is glowing, pulsing softly like it's breathing, like it's watching you. And maybe it is. Because the court you're standing on isn't just a sports field. It's a replica of the cosmos. Every line, every wall, every echo in the stone is designed to mirror something bigger, something divine. You're not here to win a game. You're here to reenact the very battle that brought light into the world. And no pressure, but the fate of the universe might hinge on your hip alignment. You return to your position, muscles twitching, the taste of stone dust still in your mouth. The other team is already forming up. Their leader, tall, sun-browned, with eyes like flint, gives you a slow nod. Not friendly, not hostile, just recognition. You're not opponents anymore. You're myth-makers, stand-ins for celestial twins, who once took on the gods of death with nothing but cleverness and a ball made of skulls. The priest raises his hand. The conch shell bellows again, a long, low note that feels like it came from the bottom of the earth. The game resumes, and everything changes. Because now, you're not just playing, you're becoming the myth. The Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, tells of the hero twins Hanaupu and Esbalanku, descended into the underworld, Xibalba, to challenge its rulers in a deadly ball game. The lords of death rigged the court with blades and burning walls. They cheated, lied, and tried to humiliate the twins at every turn. But the brothers were smarter, tricksters, survivors. And in the end, after trials involving scorpions, razor, bats, and magical decapitation, they won. One of them even died, and came back as corn, as life, as the rising sun. Historians still debate whether every ball game directly mirrored this myth, or if only royal courts used it for cosmological reenactments. But standing here now, your sweat dripping onto sacred stones, it doesn't feel like debate. It feels like destiny. The ball slams toward you again, and for a second, it's not made of rubber. It's made of darkness, of challenge, of story. You twist, hips first, and send it sailing toward your teammate. He bounces it off his shoulder, and the crowd roars. Not because it's a good play, but because they feel the rhythm. It's not just sport, it's ritual theater. Every hit tells part of the story. The descent into darkness, the fight for rebirth, the defiance of death. The court becomes a cosmic map. The long alley is the path of the sun. The walls are the mountains. The hoop, the eye of the gods, and every bounce, a heartbeat. A reminder that existence itself is built on repetition, pain, and rhythm. You don't even notice the bruises anymore. Your body is moving on instinct, driven by something older than adrenaline. You duck, roll, and leap not gracefully, but with the kind of desperate choreography only pain can teach. There's blood on the court now. Someone's elbow is split. You think it might be yours. No one stops. This isn't soccer. There are no timeouts. Only continuation. Only story. You flash back to a story you heard earlier that day, an old one, passed through whispers from a nearby village. They say in Chichen Itza, one ball player once scored the final point, and the entire crowd chanted his name. He smiled. He bowed. And then, calmly, he walked up the temple steps and offered his own neck to the blade. Voluntarily. Not out of fear, but pride. Because dying on that court meant transformation. Ascension. You wonder, as the ball slams once more into your ribs, if you'd do the same. If, when the moment comes, you'd climb those steps without trembling. You hope you never have to find out. The ball rebounds, You sprint for it, and as your body rises awkward, aching, airborne, you feel, just for a breath, weightless. The universe holding its breath. Time pauses. The ball arcs. You don't score, but you land still breathing. And in this game, that's enough to keep playing. Your side hurts in a way that feels permanent. No, not the sharp stab of a pulled muscle, but the slow, sullen throb of something that's decided it might stay forever. You run your fingers along your ribs and feel the raised bruise forming, like the ball left its signature there. Congratulations, you're officially part of the court now. And if you're wondering why this game is starting to feel more like a combat ritual than a sport, you're not wrong. Because now we need to talk about your outfit, or what passes for protection in a game where the ball can crack bones and survival is optional. You're wearing something between a diaper and a gladiator belt. Thick quilted padding strapped around your hips and thighs, meant to absorb the brutal impact of the ball. There's more around your knees, maybe some wrappings. On your arms if you're lucky, and that's about it. Your torso? Exposed. Your face? An open target? Your ego? Already bruised. But if you're part of the elite players, the ones chosen to represent their city-state, or impress a visiting dignitary, you might also wear a jade necklace, a feathered headdress, or even intricately carved wooden masks, shaped like jaguars, eagles, or gods of death. Some are ceremonial, others practical, all of them heavy. The kind of heavy that makes you wonder if dressing like a deity is worth a slipped disc. And it's not just for fashion. Everything you wear has a purpose, spiritual, symbolic, or strategic. The feathers say you're blessed by the sky. The jaguar pelt says you have jungle blood. The jade says you're valuable enough to break. Historians still debate how standardized these outfits were, and whether different regions favored different styles. Some say players went nearly nude, except for padding. Others describe elaborate costumes, too ornate for actual movement. But one thing everyone agrees on? The gear was never just about protection. It was about identity, allegiance, meaning. You adjust your belt, and something shifts against your skin, a charm, small and cool. Maybe it's obsidian, maybe bone. You. We're told not to take it off. It's for luck, or protection, or both. It doesn't matter anymore. The ball is in the air again. You pivot, knees screaming, and throw yourself sideways. This time, the hit is perfect clean contact between hip and rubber, and the ball soars. For a brief moment, you feel like a hero. Not the twins, not the sun god, just a guy who finally got one good shot in. The crowd reacts low, rising hums like a jungle chorus. Someone throws a fistful of flower petals onto the court. Or maybe it's dust. You can't tell. Your vision is a little fuzzy, and your headdress is now halfway down your face, tangled with sweat and ego. One of your teammates drops to a knee. He's gasping, his arm cradled against his chest, like something's not sitting right. A priest rushes over not to help, but to assess. There's no medic tent here, no bench to sit out the game. You play until you can't, and when you can't, someone decides whether you're still useful, or whether the gods have use for you. Elsewhere, you think about the weight of your headdress, the ridiculous padding, the fact that every inch of your outfit is designed to remind you that you're not just a person anymore. You're a symbol, a walking, bruised, slightly concussed piece of sacred theater. You remember another tale, a whispered one, about a ball game where the losing captain was forced to carry the ball on his back for an entire moon cycle, walking from town to town as a reminder that failure doesn't just hurt, it humiliates. True or not, you know that here, in this moment, every move is a message. Every stumble is a sermon. And you're preaching survival. So you stand again, adjust your padding, and prepare for the next hit. The ball bounces, high and wild. You leap for it, ribs first, like you're trying to hug the sky. Your mask slips off. Your charm swings free. You feel everything and nothing all at once. The universe perhaps notices. Or maybe just the crowd. Either way, you land hard, coughing, wheezing, but alive. And your gear ridiculous as it is held together. Barely. Welcome to the Mayan ballgame, where even your outfit has a survival story. You don't remember when the drums started, but now they're everywhere, deep, steady, rolling through. Your bones like thunder from inside the earth. It's not music, it's command. Every beat drives your limbs, even the aching ones, even the ones whispering about retirement. The crowd is swelling, packed shoulder to shoulder, faces painted. In ochre and blue, their expressions caught somewhere between reverence and bloodlust. And then you see him, the king, seated high above the court in a carved stone throne shaded by jaguar pelts and palm fronds, flanked by priests with incense bowls and obsidian eyes. He doesn't clap. He doesn't blink. He just watches, as if your every movement is a line in his private scripture. You suddenly understand. This game is no longer about scoring points. It's about proving loyalty, endurance, divine approval. The king isn't here for entertainment. He's here to measure fate. You're not playing for yourself anymore. You're playing for your lineage, your village, your ancestors, your unborn grandchildren. No pressure. The ball rockets across the court again. You chase it like a dream. You almost remember arms pumping, legs half numb, lungs burning like they're lined with chili peppers. You dive, twist, slam your hip into the rubber, and send it spinning toward the stone wall. The impact echoes. It doesn't score, but it impresses someone. A priest raises his eyebrows. A child in the crowd mimics your move. Somewhere, you've won a small, silent approval. And it matters, because everything you do here gets recorded not in ink, but in memory. There are no scoreboards, no instant replays, only stories. And the ones that last are the ones the priests decide are worth retelling. You feel the eyes on you, thousands of them. But the ones that matter most aren't human, they're divine. This ball court isn't just a place for games. It's a temple in disguise, a cosmic stage, a place where gods come to peek through the veil. The Maya believed the court connected three realms, the underworld below, the human world in the middle, and the heavens above. When you run across this court, you're running between dimensions. And when you hit the ball, you're not just playing, you're maintaining cosmic order. No big deal. Historians still debate whether this role of spiritual maintenance was reserved only for elites, or if even commoners had access to the divine spotlight. But here, now, under the eye of a king and the breath of the gods, it doesn't matter who you were before. On this court, everyone is sacred, or doomed. Sometimes, both. You spot a priest holding a jade rattle, shaking it in rhythm with the drums. Another begins a low chant in a language older than most rivers. Your name is folded into the syllables. Not your literal name, but the shape of you, the echo of your struggle. You've become part of the ritual, a moving verse in a living myth. And as exhausting as that is, it's also kind of beautiful. A teammate falters beside you, slipping on sweat and dust, falling hard. The game doesn't stop. No one checks on him. Instead, the others close ranks. The way a school of fish absorbs the wound. You know better than to pause. There's no mercy time out here, only momentum. You lunge, grit between your teeth, and meet the ball midair. It hits your hip just right. It bounces. It sings. The crowd erupts, 100 voices rising like smoke, and for a moment, you feel invincible. Not because you're unbreakable, but because you're still moving. You glance up. The king doesn't smile, but he leans forward. Just a bit. It's enough. The priest with the rattle nods. The other players seem to shift in response. Something has changed. You've been noticed. And in a world where notice from the divine can mean salvation or sacrifice, you hold your breath and keep playing. It starts with a flicker, a whisper of wind that curls around your ankles, even though the air is still. Then a sudden hush from the crowd, not silence, but the kind of collective inhale that means something big is about to happen. You look. Up, the sky has shifted. The sun, which had been baking your back for hours, is now half eclipsed by slow-moving clouds, casting long shadows across the court that seem to move even when no one does. And that's when it hits you. This might be the last match ever played. Not because of injury or heat stroke, or even divine interference, but because change is coming. Fast. The world around you is rumbling. The drums are growing chaotic. The priests look nervous, whispering to each other. And the king? He's standing now. That alone is enough to make your blood cool. He's not supposed to stand unless something cosmic is happening. The other players feel it too. You see it in their stances, tense, uncertain, like hunted animals unsure if the growl came from the bushes or their own imaginations. But here's the strange thing. No one leaves. No one runs. You all just keep playing. Because if this really is the end, you want to go out moving, sweating, fighting. You dive again, hitting the ball with everything you've got. It sails across the court like a shot from a sling, hitting the wall with a sound like thunder. Somewhere, in the jungle beyond, a monkey screams. Ominous, perfect. And still, the game doesn't stop. That's the thing about ritual. Once it begins, it has to finish, even if the world ends in the middle of it. Historians still debate whether these games ever acted as coded political resistance, quiet rebellions disguised as sport. Some believe that when the Spanish began their conquest of Mesoamerica, the Maya used the ballgame not just as spiritual continuity, but as a hidden form of protest. The courts stayed open. The rituals continued in secret. And sometimes, they say, a match wasn't just a match, it was a message. You're starting to believe that. The crowd is shifting again. You catch a glimpse of something at the edge of the court, foreign armor glinting. A helmet, a flash of metal that does not belong to any Maya warrior. The Spaniards have arrived. The whispers of change are now marching in full armor, but they don't step onto the court. Not yet. They just watch, confused, dismissive. If they can't decide whether this is a sport, a sermon, or a superstition, they don't understand what they're seeing, and that's exactly the point. The game continues, and in defiance of everything, you're still in it. Bloodied, bruised, maybe slightly hallucinating from dehydration, but very much alive. You look at your teammates. You nod. You launch into motion again. The ball is slick with dust and sweat. The court is trembling, but maybe that's just your knees. You hit the ball. It bounces once, twice, then through the stone hoop. The impossible has happened. For a heartbeat, the world holds still. The drums stop. The conch shell is silent. Even the jungle seems to pause. Then an eruption not of sound, but of feeling. It's like lightning without the flash. Everyone is on their feet. The priest drops his incense bowl. The kings' eyes widen, and the Spaniards, they look baffled, because they just saw a miracle, and they don't even know it. You scored. You won. And now everything changes. You've just ended the game and possibly rewritten your fate. But as the adrenaline fades, a strange dread seeps in. You've been told the winner is sometimes sacrificed. A perfect offering. An honor. A sentence. You wait. You breathe. You look at the sky again. The sun has returned. bright, blinding, watching. You don't know what comes next. But for now, you stand in the center of the court, arms aching, ribs bruised, sweat soaking every inch of your sacred gear, and for the first time tonight, everything is still. The air tastes different now. Not fresher, not cleaner, just heavier. Like you've walked into a room where everyone knows a secret except you. You're still standing in the middle of the court, the ball lying still beside your foot like a faithful animal that's just delivered its final message. The crowd doesn't cheer. Not really. They murmur, chant, press their palms together in a soft rustle of reverence. You've done it. Scored the final point. Finished the story. Closed the ritual. And now, everyone's waiting to see what story you become. The priest approaches first, his jaguar pelt shifting with each step, obsidian blade tucked into his belt like a casual accessory. He looks at you, not as a man, but as something more. Something sacred, a vessel. You try to read his face, but it's unreadable, like carved wood. He raises your arm. The crowd finally erupts. Not in wild screaming, but in a low, rhythmic chant. They call you Achai, the striker, the one who touched the sun. Behind the priest, a group of masked attendants begin preparing something. You catch the glint of jade, the rustle of feathers, the smell of burning copal. You realize with a sudden chill that they're not just celebrating you, they're preparing you. And that's when the panic flutters in your chest, like a trapped bird. You remember what they told you before the game. The best players don't just win, they ascend. And ascending, in this case, might mean your heart. On a golden plate. But then the priest does something strange. He steps aside. The king descends from his throne slowly, regally, as if the stone steps were part of his body. His headdress is so tall, it brushes the leaves of the nearest ceiba tree, and his eyes burn with something ancient. He walks right up to you, looks you over. Then he speaks. Not a blessing, not a judgment, but a question. Will you play again? His voice is deeper than you expected. Calm, measured, and entirely terrifying. You blink. Your mouth is dry. You nod. Of course you will. What else can you say? He nods once, satisfied, then turns to the crowd and raises both arms. A roar rises relieved, joyous, unburdened. You're not going to die. Not tonight. Apparently, the gods want an encore. Historians still debate whether the winner is sacrifice idea is accurate or just misunderstood colonial propaganda. Some believe the winner was spared, showered with gifts, even offered a place among the nobility. Others say the ultimate honor was to die at your peak, to become part of the divine. But standing here now, under the fading gold of the afternoon, sun, your ribs bruised and your legs trembling, you're just grateful for air, and for the chance to walk off the court upright. The attendants lead you away, not to an altar, but to a shaded platform draped in woven mats. They wash your hands, anoint your shoulders with some cool, fragrant oil, and press a carved jade amulet into your palm. A gift, or a reminder, or a warning. You don't ask. You just hold it tightly, feeling its edges dig into your skin, anchoring you to this surreal moment. Somewhere behind you, the crowd begins to disperse. The drums shift to a slower rhythm. Children imitate your moves in the dust, laughing, tumbling. And in the shadows near the edge of the jungle, the Spaniards are still watching. But this time, one of them claps slow, uncertain, but sincere, as if even they understand that they've just witnessed something older and deeper than any empire. You turn once more to look at the court. It's quiet now. The hoop still stands. The ball rests where you left it. But everything feels different, like something was sealed tonight, or perhaps reopened. You don't know if you've survived a game or passed a test. Maybe both. But you do know this. You'll never see the world the same way again. Because once you've played the game of the gods, bounced your fate off stone walls, and lived, to tell about it, you can't go back to being ordinary. You're marked now, not by blood, but by memory. And memory, here, is everything dot and now. You're back where you began. No longer on the court, no longer under the weight of 1,000 watching eyes or the sting of sacred bruises. You're lying somewhere soft perhaps, a woven hammock swaying gently between two trees, the shadows of leaves dancing across your face. The drums are far away now, like thunder remembered from a dream. The air is warm and calm, carrying the scent of corn, of earth, of wet stone after rain. Your body aches in the way that reminds you you're still alive, and yet that pain is fading, becoming part of a rhythm that lulls rather than alarms. You hear distant voices' laughter, perhaps, or a song half sung by a grandmother shelling. Beans by the fire, the night settles in, soft and deep. Stars blink awake one by one, and the moon watches like an old friend. The ball court is silent now, but its story echoes gently in your breath. You've survived. You've played. And now, you rest, sleep well, dream easy, and remember the gods love a good story. End of script. Good night.